like to call to order our meeting December 28th, 2023 at 4:36. All is in attendance except for Trustee Hinkle. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's no public comment or input as no one else is here. I'd like to consent the agenda and minutes for the 12-14 and 12-21 meeting that we previously had this month. Can I have a first?
No. We'll make a motion to consent the minutes from 12/14/23 and 12/21/2023.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, first by Trustee Johnson, second by Trustee Stein. Before I move on to old business, I would like to amend the agenda by adding one more topic that came up today regarding the tenants, the previous tenants in Building 5 and a letter we received. So I would like to know if anyone could make a motion to amend the agenda to add that one item.
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to include the item that we received today.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second again.
First by Trustee Whittick and second by Trustee Stein. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, so passed. Before we go into, I'm just going to start it right away because if you could take a look at the letter that Lateria, it was the very first thing she handed you regarding Building 5. Lateria received this from Michaela, the previous owner, from Heaven's Touch Christian Learning Center. And I have reached, why don't you just take a moment to read the letter? Give me a thumbs up when you're ready. So obviously, we received this today, and there are some concerns, but I also reached out to Chris and Ernie because some of this with the driveway reconstruction was when Ernie was president and Chris was in admin. Both gave me really good, valid information that does not give them a lot of ground to stand on. But I will be sharing this with Mark Kingston just to keep us. Also know that we are looking into the electric bill issue, but that takes some time. RIC Electric has already been out to try and split. And Chris even says it's not all of the lights, it's just part of the lights. So it really shouldn't be an issue. We did give them the opportunity to show us if they were getting funding in January. They never followed through. And then, as Lateria, you said, that they had already gotten the notice that they were not coming back, so they didn't want to argue with us. I think Kendall's been very fair in working with them. They did not pay in October and November, so we really had no choice. but to say, we're not moving forward with having you as tenants. I do feel that possibly they are upset about paying, not getting their entire security deposit back, and so they're probably upset with us about that, but we've been nothing but transparent with them. So a lot of the things that are on here are, we have a lot to share back, and we have followed through on many of these things. Does anybody want to share anything or add anything, or ask any questions? Chris, just because I reached out to both of them today, I'll share with you. Ernie said she did get a very big rent break for not having the drive ready. The city never made us aware of that, but there's no legal documentation to support what she says. So we will have to look at the lights situation, which we already are doing, but Ernie felt like a lot of the things that she's talking about, I shared with him and Chris the letter because it was from when he was here. And Chris thought her claim that her being unable to get up and running a year into her lease due to the driveway contradicts her few months process to get licensed by the state. And all this being said, they were very quiet throughout their entire time with no concerns. We never heard anything from them
They paid on time every single month.
until they didn't pay. That's the only time we heard from them.
COVID relief stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
All right, the meters for the lights were installed today.
Mhm.
It
So-
will take about a month
to
go
figure
through
it, yes,
some.
yeah, and we will tell her that. And I feel like we've been pretty honest.
Were
and
they able to
open.
figure out which lights were connected to that service?
That's what we were doing right now, to figure out. But Chris
How do
said,
they know which lights to put the meters on?
Chris said there's a separate billing account for the lights that get paid monthly, so it doesn't make sense that they've not been paying for all of it. It's only part of it.
Right.
And I think that will help us determine from what RIC Electric put in to find out how much is going for the lights and how much is actually for the building. Does that make sense?
RIC, since they're professionals, they know where the electric is coming from?
That, from my understanding,
Oh.
yes. So they put in like a separate meter, like a separate hookup to like separate those two things. But it's gonna take at least a month for us to get information. So this was really just, Lateria did encourage them to come and talk to us at a meeting. And I wanted you to have this, just in case they did. So if we were meeting today, I'd share it with you. After talking to Chris and Ernie, I will share with Mark Kingston this letter, as well as what Chris and Ernie shared with me, as well as what we have done in the village office for them and the notices that they've gotten and whatnot for leaving. Is there anything else anybody wants to say?
I'm wondering if, when talking with Ernie and Chris, if you could get them to put something on paper.
Yeah, I've got it in text message.
Okay.
It's written down.
Okay.
Well, it's also
So-
a bunch of emails
Okay.
with all the rent that they didn't have to pay for those several months. It's in email. We have record of how we had to move money around for their security deposit because of lack of wording in those emails and them not having to pay as much. That was our fault, so we had to eat it. So they've gotten a lot of breaks. And so we do have all those printed in their folder. And also the one paragraph where she mentions I was not caring. That was a letter that I handed, that Lateria had wrote about their eviction, and that we just needed their signature stating that they saw it and they needed to be out by a certain date. So that's what they considered rude and uncaring.
But we also didn't hear from them for like weeks. There was a time span there where they were not coming in and they didn't pay rent, and so we started the eviction process because they were not sharing with us what their next step was. If they were gonna, and then they were kind of like, well, we're trying to see, well, we couldn't just let them stay for a third month. And
We
when
also
they-
told them we just need their signature stating that they saw the eviction letter. And if they want to prove funding in the next week or so, before that, they had like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. If they wanted to prove that they would have funding by January, we can move forward with a different process. But in the meantime, we have to stick to the process we've already started.
Right.
So I guess that came off as inconsiderate of their plans.
Well, that's just business. You
Yeah,
have,
exactly.
you're not being, I don't think you're being rude or, disrespectful. I think it's business.
And they already said that they didn't need the funding. How did that work? Because they said to you, we had already started this, so there was no point in going back.
Yeah, that they already let like the state know that they were not gonna be.
Here.
Yeah, they wouldn't be rented anymore.
So they owe us what, 3 months rent, 2 months rent?
I'll be figuring all of that out tomorrow, an
Yeah.
itemized list, so that I can return their security deposit tomorrow.
So they'll get some money back, but not as much as I don't think, as they're expecting.
Well, are all the rents going to be taken out of the security deposit?
Correct. Everything that they owe us,
Okay.
It's
plus
taken out of that.
3% late fees, I'm not paying their rent, will also be added to the itemized list.
Okay, because I know they had a larger security deposit when they initially,
It was $8,000.
yeah, it was because.
Yeah, it was somewhere, it was enough to cover everything.
Okay.
Plus all the water bill they didn't pay that got put in our property tax, they will also be paying for.
And then remember when the electricity comes around in the summertime, when it was very, very hot outside, there was nobody in the building, and the thermostat was set at about 60 on the
Right.
air conditioner. So it was cold.
Well, and then they turned on,
The heat,
Mhm.
they had the heat on, set up to like 80. It was really hot in the building.
so I don't know what was going on there, but yeah.
Somebody did it. Everybody's going to deny it, but that's what it was.
So, that's just info for you to have. Thanks for listening. Next, I would like to go into, I'd like someone to make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to statute 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. It's the discussion of the window project bids. Can I have a motion?
I move to go into closed session pursuant to statute 19.851E.
Can I have a second? First by trustee Root, second by trustee Johnson, and we are in closed session. Yep, that's right. All right, next on the agenda, we are coming back from closed session to discuss and take possible action on the complex window project. In our discussion, we discussed and looked for about 45 minutes at all 4 bids that we received. And on the board's behalf, we have all decided that we are going to go forward with Siding Unlimited to follow through with the window project. I would like a roll call, please. If you are in favor, aye. If you are against, nay. Barb, would you like to start? Trustee Whittick?
Trustee, I, trustee Whittick.
Stewart, aye.
Gasser, aye.
Stein, aye. Root, aye.
Johnson, aye.
And I believe this was the bid was the lowest responsible bid.
Lowest responsible bid of all.
Qualified.
And also with excellent information on all parts, including doors as well. So, and with that, it is 5:32. We are adjourned.